Coming at you through the power of bottled lightning. Rainy Night Drive Radio. Tonight's topic, flying cryptids. The cryptids, and they can fly. Let me take a moment to welcome you all. This is the first episode of this podcast. Trying it out. Still playing with settings and stuff. I'm still adjusting the volumes here. And just trying things out. And wanted to add an AM radio filter to the voice and music. I don't like the settings it's got, and I'm still tinkering with it. So we're just going to do without for now until I get it figured out. Besides that, I'm really happy with the rain and car noise. I really think that's nice. Really like that. Do you? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And don't forget to give it a like. Let me know if you guys like this show or not. Besides that, let's get on with it. But first, some strange news. And in strange space news, zombie star near Earth has rainbow shockwave that shouldn't be there. A new study reveals a rare breaking white dwarf star dubbed RxJ0528 plus 2838 as I alternate name that is somehow generating a rainbow-like bow shock wave as it zooms through the Milky Way. Cosmic zombie is also ripping apart its partner star like a black hole. It's hard to figure out how much of this article will be here. I'm trying to summarize it. Every star in the Milky Way is constantly spinning around the supermassive black hole at the heart of our galaxy, dubbed Sagittarius. Most of these stars, including the Sun, are protected by a bow shock, which pushes material around the star, similar to the waves generated around the bow of a ship as it moves through the water. These bow shocks are created by outflowing gas and dust from the star, which collides with and pushes against the interstellar medium, leftover matter, and radiation that exists in the gaps between stars. Other smaller and less active stars do not have bow shocks because they lack outflowing matter, meaning they offer up little to no resistance against the interstellar medium. Some of the best examples of bow shock-free stars are white dwarfs, the shriveled husks left behind from the cores of massive stars that have died in violent supernova explosions. So the zombie star is an anomaly. And in world news today, mystery as hundreds of Victorian-era shoes wash up on a beach. Mystery surrounds the appearance of hundreds of Victorian hobnailed shoes which have washed up ashore on a beach. The black leather boots, thought to date back to the 19th century, were discovered by volunteers cleaning up rock pools on Ogmore by the Sea Beach in the Vale of Glamorgan, South Wales. Emma Lamport from the Beach Academy social enterprise, which found these shoes, said that there was speculation locally that they would be from a shipwrecked Italian cargo vessel said to have struck nearby Tusker Rock about 150 years ago. Author and mudlarker Laura Macklem, I want to say Macklem, it's Macklem, said the boots were definitely Victorian and likely to have come from a shipwreck due to the quantity found. So there's a shipwreck out there, and one of his cargo boxes finally broke open, and all the shoes just started floating to the surface and got washed up on the beach. I wonder if they knew where the shipwreck was. It's thought the shipwreck could have occurred at nearby Tusker Rock, which is about 3 kilometers west of Ogmore Beach and only visible at low tide. Mrs. Lamport said this week alone they had discovered 200 shoes in one small area during a rock pool restoration on Ogmore Beach. She explained they had been doing some restoration projects since September in a bid to clean up a marine litter which can become embedded within the rock pools, but certainly did not expect to find hundreds of Victorian-era shoes. Wow. We're going to see those on eBay later. And in national news, this one's a bit old. It's from December, but I find it kind of interesting. So, the viral 6-7 meme tops 2025's list of overused words and phrases. Respondents to an unusual Michigan College survey of overused and misused words and phrases say 6-7 is cooked and should come to a massive full stop heading into the new year. These are among the top 10 words on the 50th annual Banished Words list, released Thursday by Lake Superior State University. A tongue-in-cheek roundup of overused slang started in 1976 as a New Year's Eve party idea, and it's affectionately called the list of Queen's English for misuse, overuse, and general uselessness. Around 1,400 submissions came from all 50 states and a number of countries outside the U.S., including Uzbekistan, Brazil, Japan, according to Lake Superior State. Also in the top 10 are demure, incentivize, perfect, gift, gifted, my bad, and reach out. My bad and reach out also made a list decades ago, in 1998 and 1994, respectively. So that was from December, because I couldn't find anything good for this week. So I had to reach back a little bit. And now, let's move on to tonight's topic, flying cryptids. Let's start off with the famous, probably the most commonly heard of, the pterosaurs. It's spelled with a silent E. Pterosaurs are flying reptiles that are assumed extinct by mainstream scientists, though some cryptozoologists disagree. Pterodactyls are part of a larger group called the pterosaurs. Animals lived at the same time as the dinosaurs and are often labeled as dinosaurs by amateurs. They are in fact a sister group to dinosaurs, both being archosaurs. Sightings consist of living pterosaurs of various types. Come from many places, even urban areas. But those that seem the most plausible come from the remote areas of the world, such as jungles of Africa and the rainforests of Papua New Guinea, large landmass north of Australia. In Africa, the most famous pterosaur-like sightings are of a flying animal called the Kongomodo. It is described as a red in color with no feathers, with bat-like wings, teeth in its snout, and is about 6 foot from wingtip to wingtip. That's me as I am tall. It's like a giant bat. They are giant bats. The Woken of Papua New Guinea is another famous pterosaur lookalike that hasn't been confirmed by science. It is described in terms that more precisely fit a pterosaur than any other known creature. A Van Meter visitor is also speculated to be a pterosaur. There's links to obviously. The more plausible pterosaur accounts have begun receiving different interpretations in recent years. Now, researchers favor the idea of there being one or more undiscovered species of giant bats, since bats can have very odd-shaped heads. It could be that some bats happen to look like pterosaurs. Other explanations have leaned more towards dragons, since the creatures in pterosaur sightings sometimes look like a cross between a dragon and a pterosaur. However, in order for that explanation to be correct, dragons would have to exist, and a supposition yet to be proved. It could be that the legends and sightings of dragons are actually pterosaurs, which seems slightly more likely than the other way around. Dragons being sighted. The Kongomodo. Kongomodos are a large pterosaur-like cryptid living in tropical and subtropical regions of Africa, particularly in Zambia, the Congo, and Angola. It resembles a pastiche of folkloric flying monsters. Pastiche. That's a new word for your vocabulary. Its name means breaker of boats or overturner of boats, as the Kongomodos are said to have capsized the canoes of natives and attacked people who ventured too close to their nearby rivers. It is described as a reddish lizard with membranous wings. Membranous, okay, I'll use it. Membranous wings and teeth in its beak. Its wingspan ranges from 4 to 100 feet across. That's a big difference. 4 to 100? Wow. When shown a picture of a pterosaur, natives said that it was a picture of the Kongomodo. They're anywhere from 4 to 100 feet wingspan, depending on who you talk to. The accounts told of these creatures are similar to the ones that describe the Woken of Papua New Guinea, as well as several other creatures. There are several historical reports of European explorers being attacked by large winged creatures, and quite often people were reported to have received wounds from the Kongomodos. It is thought to eat mostly fish, but occasionally humans. The Kongomodo is also said to dig up graves and steal human corpses. Because in Africa, the burial is usually not too deep. It is interesting to note that a good portion of the modern Kongomodo sightings happen in a prime bird watching site, and yet bird watchers never report anything, indicating that the Kongomodo may in fact be a case of mistaken identity. The Ropen. The Ropen, meaning flying demon, is a cryptid thought to be either a bat or, more commonly, a pterosaur in New Guinea Island. It is said to produce a light, possibly to attract fish. Ropen is cryptid alleged to... Whoever just needs to write better. The Ropen is cryptid alleged to live in the vicinity of the Indonesian Papua province and the nation of Papua New Guinea. Is it Papua province? According to the book Searching for Ropens, it is any featherless creature that flies in the southwest Pacific. It has a tail length more than 25% of its wingspan. On the island, the word Ropen refers to a large nocturnal creature that glows briefly as it flies. A Ropen is the subject of folklore like a man, but also like a spirit. But it is believed by some natives to be a real animal. Descriptions vary, but it is often said to be bat-like and sometimes pterosaur-like, although pterosaurs are generally accepted to be extinct. The Ropen is believed to be nocturnal and exhibit bioluminescence. Purportedly, it lives on a diet of fish, though there have been some reports of the creature feasting on human flesh, especially from grave robbery. It is reported to have a wingspan anywhere from 12, you guessed it, to 100 feet. Despite popular myth, the Ropen itself was not fabricated by creationists. It was first sighted in 1935 by famous biologist and entomologist Evelyn Cheeseman. Wow, that'd be a crazy last name, Cheeseman. Who believed in evolution and was well respected in the scientific community. But I don't have that last name. Identity. It is often the case with cryptids. The Ropen's true identity is subject to debate. The first sighting by Cheeseman described the Ropen as glowing anomalies, very different from the pterosaur description. In New Guinea, Cheeseman briefly investigated the mysterious flying lights, now called Ropen lights. Decades before the late 20th century and early 21st century, Ropen expeditions. I thought that was going to continue on. Didn't expect that period there. In her book, The Two Roads of Papa, she dismissed the possibility that the lights are from any human agency. Recently, many organizations have come out claiming that the Ropen's pterosaur sightings were fabricated by creationists, while some websites even claim that the Ropen itself was a creationist creation. An entirely false accusation is as renowned entomologist Evelyn Cheeseman, who believed in evolution, first sighted the creature. This goes on and on. I want to move on to the next cryptid. The Van Meter Visitor. 121 years ago, a strange creature was said to have paid a visit to the small town of Van Meter in Iowa. The strange events occurred in October of 1903. Several respected members of the community told of a mysterious winged creature that terrorized some of the town's residents during several nights in the course of the week. Descriptions of the beast suggested that it had large bat-like wings, left a terrible stench whenever it went, wherever it went, and even stranger, it fired beams of bright light from its forehead. A bizarre account recalls how several of the locals attempted to shoot the beast, but their gunfire didn't appear to have any effect. Fed up with the menace, a group of townsfolk banded together one evening and pursued the creature to an abandoned coal mine. There, they confronted not one, but two of the beasts, which both turned and disappeared down into the gloom of the mine as the men opened fire, never to be seen again. That's cool. Here's one you're gonna love. Bat Squatch. A bat squatch is a flying cryptid that was allegedly seen near Mount St. Helens in the 1980s. It resembles a flying primate similar to the ahu and the orangutan of Southeast Asia, and its name is a portmanteau derived from the words bat and Sasquatch. Portmanteau? I don't know. It's got EAU at the end. Figure it out. The witness allegedly took several pictures of the creature. However, these pictures have not been analyzed and thus cannot prove the creature's existence. This creature was said to have yellow eyes, a dog-like muzzle, blue fur, sharp teeth, bird-like feet, and leathery bat-like wings that span up to 50 feet. In addition, Sasquatch is said to be 9 feet tall and has the ability to affect car engines. So it's a mechanic? Japanese books and websites sometimes describe Sasquatch as being 22 feet tall, 7 meters. But this is probably a mistranslation, as no Sasquatch of this size has ever been sighted. Sightings of Sasquatch began in 1980, shortly after the eruption of Mount St. Helens. Reports from this period describe it as a monkey-like creature with red eyes and wings that flies through the plume. In April of 1994, Brian Canfield was driving in Washington's Pierce County when his truck suddenly died. Canfield said a large creature landed in front of him. He said it was human-like, 9 feet tall, with bat-like wings, and also sported a coat of blue fur. As Canfield's report became well known, a series of new reports followed. A person named Butch Whittaker reported that he was in a private plane in the vicinity of Canfield's encounter with the Sasquatch and encountered a flying Sasquatch. In 1998, a driver of a truck hauling logs in a northern Oregon area reported a collision with a Sasquatch. The Sasquatch seen at this time was described as 15 feet tall, with purple eyes and nose and small wings. In 2009, near Mount Shasta in California, several hikers witnessed a huge creature with leathery wings spanning about 50 feet fly out of a crevice in the mountain. At first, an eyewitness described the creature as having a head similar to a pterodactyl. However, upon reconsideration, the witness claimed it was more akin to a flying fox bat. A fox bat. Yeah, those are like fruit bats. Look like foxes. In June 2011, Phoenix Tierez was in his yard walking his dog. He went to pick up the dog and he saw something in the sky. He said the following: "I saw something flying in the sky. It had bat wings, blue fur, and had a face similar to the eyes, had a face similar to eyes glowing red." That's what he said. It was about 9 feet tall at the least. After I watched it, just flew away. On April 14th, 2014, an Archbishop Hogan High School in Akron, Ohio, a second period Spanish class. I thought that was a person. At Archbishop Hogan High School in Akron, Ohio. Sorry about that. A second period Spanish class spotted a giant black mass zip by the window of the classroom at incredible speed. The class claims it was about 9 feet tall with a 20 to 30 foot wingspan. Now here's one I want to mention on. Atmospheric beasts. Atmospheric beasts, also called sky jellyfish, cloud beasts, or aerial organisms, are among the strangest alleged creatures in all of ufology, cryptozoology, and speculative astrobiology. According to reports, these entities behave like living organisms, yet break nearly every known biological rule. They are said to levitate without wings, shift between solid and vaporous states, and in some cases glow, pulse, or even vanish entirely. Some think they float using gas-filled organs. Many researchers classify them as hypothetical plasma-based or energy-based life forms, inhabiting the upper layers of Earth's atmosphere, or, in more speculative cases, the skies of other planets, such as Venus and Jupiter. Speculative. You know, work on that word. Oh, it gets weirder, people. Get this one. The giant Canadian spider bat. That's right. Spider bat. All one word. The giant Canadian spider bat is a possibly flying humanoid sighted by a man in his barn in southwest Canada. The creature was described by the eyewitness as kind of like a Mothman, but with spider teeth and small white eyes. It is also about 5 feet tall when crouched. The only position the creature has been sighted in, and quite muscular. It has 2 small white glistening eyes, unlike how the creature is shown in the eyewitness sketch. It's a very rough sketch. It also may have spider-esque face, but this is unproven. The following is the original report written by the eyewitness, although slightly shortened. And I don't know exactly what time it was, but it was dark. I live on a farm. I was walking home after putting our farm animals to bed when I passed an old, particularly fallen down barn on our property. I glanced at the barn as I neared it and witnessed a huge, bulky, maybe winged thing duck away into the barn incredibly fast. It seemed to me like it cowered away when I looked at it, like it didn't want to be caught watching me. It was huge, seemingly too big to fit through the large open window at the front of the barn where it appeared to be perched. Its eyes were tiny and glistening white. Once I saw the thing, I ran as fast as I could for my house. I felt a sensation that made me feel like something was rushing towards me incredibly, but never reaching me. That's the only way I can explain it. I still don't like going outside on my own when it's dark, and that barn freaks me out a bit. Once in a while I hear noises from seemingly within. It sounds like somebody setting down a pile of wooden planks over and over. It could be an echo from elsewhere on the property, but I don't know. I also feel like it may have just been in my mind playing tricks on me. I feel like the barn is watching me whenever I pass it. Possible explanations. A Canadian spiderbat could very well simply be a trick of the eyes, perhaps light reflecting off of something inside the barn. As the witness recalls wearing a headlamp on his head during the supposed encounter. The witness believes that this is the most likely explanation. It is also possible that the monster the witness thought he saw could have been a barn owl or bird flying into the barn, causing it to appear huge in the darkness. The witness recalls already being nervous even before the encounter. White eyes and spider fangs on a bat squatch. Great. The Black Bird of Chernobyl. The Black Bird of Chernobyl was a Mothman-like creature allegedly sighted before the Chernobyl meltdown and during the rescue of Chernobyl workers. There aren't many sightings of this monstrous alien, though the sightings before and after are similar. All of the sightings before the disaster are practically the same. Workers seeing the huge creature in the area of the power plant. The workers say that they had dreams of a beast with a 20-foot wingspan and red glowing eyes. The sightings afterwards are similar to each other. Rescuers in helicopters seeing a large bird-like creature fly by. Everyone who saw the creature during that time has died. Nice. Some associate this creature with the Mothman of Point Pleasant and suggest the creatures might either be the same entity or belong to the same species of future predicting flying monsters. What if they're the old tiny Viking Valkyries? So that music interlude will mark the halfway point in this show. I'm thinking if ever get sponsored or something, I'll slip it into the middle of that somewhere. No, that's if I get sponsored. I have no idea if I ever will. Anyway, it's just fun to plan ahead just in case. Alright, coming up next, more cryptids. More flying cryptids. There's a bunch of interesting ones that I want to cover here. So let's keep going. Alright, here's a good one. Air rods. How many of you guys have heard about these things? I've heard about them a couple of times through the years. They are a truly strange phenomenon. Let's begin here. Air rods, also called flying rods, and sometimes referred to as sky fish, are something like crop circles in that even skeptics acknowledge their existence. So even skeptics are saying, yeah, those are weird. The only question is what they really are. The air rods have never been seen live with the naked eye, but are picked up by cameras and cell phones all over the world. Explanations: are they living creatures, alien probes, or something short of a 3D electromagnetic smudge? You got something in the cameras? To believers in the cryptozoology-based theory of air rods are probably living creatures, and they are possibly related to older stories of atmospheric beasts. However, these cryptids are a well-known phenomenon in the photography world. Air rods are video artifacts created from motion blur, especially in the interlaced video recording, and are after image trails, typically of flying creatures, especially insects. As such, belief in these cryptids is practically non-existent in those versed in photography. While the species is almost guaranteed to just be this camera glitch, another possibility is a centipede species with membranes between its legs. Now I can see that. I can see that working. Allowing it to glide around the world during windy conditions. Species may also be translucent in coloration, making it more difficult to spot without the motion blur effect of a camera. Flying centipedes with membranes. Yeah, let that sink in for a minute. Significantly more outlandish theories claim that air rods might not be made of matter. Air rods are made of electromagnetic fluxes or some other form of energy. Air rods are made of some undiscovered fifth phase of matter, other than solid gas, liquid, or plasma. That's solid gases, liquids, plasma. Air rods could have evolved from organisms that are native to the clouds. Air rods may be tears in reality, or condensed rings, a theoretical physical entity posited by the string theory of physics. I thought that was debunked already. Air rods may be an evolutionary form of, here's a good big one, Anomalocaris without extinction. Okay, whatever that big word is. I haven't seen it before, so I don't know. Alright, hoaxes. At first glance, air rods seem bizarre, otherworldly, or even terrifying. The most studied air rod films showed air rods swooping within a dozen feet of the camera, coming close to the ground, and going between objects with nearby trees and bushes visible behind the air rods. The rods moved with fluidity, not unlike a worm, and were exceptionally agile, appearing to fly with some unknown method that violated all known laws of physics. However, more careful investigation reveals a clear, convincing explanation. It is easy to hoax air rod photographs using models or computer-generated images. It is obvious for the sheer number of air rods that hoaxers could not have pulled off even 1% of the pre-discovery air rod footage. Air rods are the result of a fast-moving flying creature moving about a camera's field of vision. They appear when a creature, typically an insect, although occasionally birds or bats, move quickly in interlaced video. In interlaced video footage, multiple still frames are placed in a single frame of a replayed video, increasing the perceived frame rate without consuming extra bandwidth. Once the video is interlaced, insects that would appear to be moving as normal are displayed as air rods. In still footage, rods appear in elongated shutter exposure speeds. When moving insects are captured or on film multiple times along their path of flight, appearing to form air rods. So that's interesting. Air rods have been debunked as a problem with cameras that show an insect's several wing beats instead of one, creating a rod effect. See picture above. Okay, picture above. Oh, okay. Let's see here. Lost my place. When known principles of photography, universal to every modern method of capture, are applied to these cases of air rods, it neatly explains every aspect of the case. The translucency of rods is due to the background being captured between frames. The agility and fluidity of motion in congruous to their size. Another new word I've never seen before. To their size and shape is due to the physical body of the visual aberration being much smaller than observed. The fact that they are never seen with a naked eye but commonly seen on cameras is due to the capture methods of photography. The wild discrepancy between appearances, speeds, and habitats of air rods is due to the fact that many organisms are capable of producing the optical illusion. And finally, and arguably most conclusively, the lack of corpses, and probably fossil record. Potentially extant relatives, fossils, ecological impact is due to the fact that the sources of air rods are already cataloged as different organisms. Well, there you go. Thanks for ruining it. Air rods may not be real. Damn it. The Cumberland Dragon. The Cumberland Dragon, also known as Goosefoot, is a lesser-known mystery creature only reported to have been sighted once near the Cumberland Mountains. Oh, it's over in Transylvania. Oh, Transylvania Purchase. I read that wrong. The following was a blur posted by the Caledonian Mercury on December 4th, 1794. In February last, a detachment of mounted infantry, commanded by Captain John Beard, penetrated 15 miles into the Cumberland Mountain. And this is somewhere around Ohio, Indiana, Tennessee, and Kentucky. It's like somewhere in between. Somewhere in that region, I think. Might be in Tennessee. Okay, zooming in. Image enhance. Enhance. Alright. Cumberland Gap. So, somewhere on the border of Tennessee and Kentucky. Looks like. Yeah, somewhere on the damn East Coast where I don't live. I don't know. I don't care. Alright. Let's see here. Cover Creek, Ensign McDonald and another man in advance of the party of spies discovered a creature about 3 steps from them. That's pretty damn close. It only had 2 legs and stood almost upright, covered it with scales of a black, brown, and a slight yellow color, in spots like rings. A white tuft or crown on the top of his head, about 4 feet high, a head as big as 2-pound stone, and large eyes of a fiery red. Yes, interesting. Stood about 3 minutes in a daring posture, orders being given not to fire a gun except at the Indians. Mr. McDonald advanced and struck it with his sword, when it jumped at least 8 feet and lit on the same spot of ground, sending forth a red kind of matter out of his mouth, resembling blood, and then retreated into a laurel thicket, turning round often as if it intended to fight. The track of it resembled that of a goose, but larger. The Indians report that a creature inhabits that part of the mountain of the above description, which, by its breath, will kill a man if he does not instantly immerse himself in water. So it could be some sort of like defensive venom or something. Okay. So that's an interesting one. I wanted to read that. Cumberland Dragon is also featured in popular trading card game MetaZoo, Cryptid Nation. Okay. The Lone Pine Mountain Devil. Lone Pine Mountain Devil is a winged carnivore of North American folklore. Some believe it to be a West Coast relative of the New Jersey Devil. One early account by a priest described them as winged demons sent from the depths of hell. Also referred to as the California Mountain Devil, the animal is said to be a bat-like legendary creature or cryptid believed to inhabit wilderness and mountainous regions of the North American Southwest and northern Mexico. The Lone Pine Mountain Devil is usually described as a large, furry, multi-winged creature with razor-like talons and multiple layers of deadly venomous fangs. The scientific community considers the Lone Pine Mountain Devil to be a combination of folklore, misidentification, rather than a real creature. Since 1928, there have not been any significant or credible sightings of the Lone Pine Mountain Devil, and there are no existing images of the creature caught on film. Its name may come from the combination of one of its alleged habitats in the Sierra Nevada mountain range outside the town of Lone Pine, California, the brutal viciousness of its attack. The creature is believed to slaughter its prey by attacking its torso and head of the victim. Most wild animal attacks stem from that need to eat the meat of its prey, whereas the mountain devil are said to indulge only in the soft cartilage areas of the face and torso, while leaving the remaining meat to rot or for other animals to eat. Some theropod dinosaurs possess feathers along both pairs of limbs, giving the appearance of 4 wings. One of the largest of these animals was known as the Sinornithosaurus, or something like that, which was suspected to be venomous due to the certain grooves running down the outer surface towards the rear of the tooth, a feature seen mainly in venomous animals. I've never heard of this one. I'm a dinosaur dork. I've never heard of that. These dinosaurs may be an explanation to the creature and its appearance. Internet hoax and 2021 documentary. In 2021, the Crash Course Cryptozoology YouTube channel did a 17-minute documentary on the Lone Pine Devil. Their research largely exposed the legend as an internet hoax. The documentary proposed that the legend was started by the comedy trio Matt and Rob for their horror comedy short video back in 2010 called Mountain Devil Prank Fails Horribly. I'm gonna look that up later. The original video was removed, damn it, but copies of it exist on YouTube. Oh, well, which is it? The multi-winged demon is depicted as the black and white drawing, wrongly called eyewitness sketch, is based on this appearance at the end of the video. Okay. Alright, moving on. Alright. We can't do flying cryptids without talking about the Thunderbird. A thunderbird is a cryptozoological creature associated with large bird-like animals that live anywhere from northern Canada and Alaska down to Central America. Similar animals often appear in Native American mythology. Some tales tell of an enormous eagles strong enough to carry whales back to their nests. Whales. Okay. Since pioneers began moving west across the North American plains, sightings of large birds have been reported. Similar stories appear in civilizations around the world. Legend. Native tribes all across America, especially along the Pacific coast and in Great Lakes area, have stories depicting enormous birds of prey. Some stories told that these birds were so large and powerful that when they flapped their wings, thunder was created. Lightning flashed out of their eyes, and water fell off of their backs, creating rain. The tribes used thunderbirds to explain some of the things that happened naturally, such as storms and other forms of weather. The legend of the big word coming in, Passamaquoddies, for example, described the quest of two Native Americans in search of the source of thunder high in the mountains. Other stories said that there was a thunderbird who battled an enormous killer whale. Okay. When the two beasts fought, they destroyed much of the land, knocking down trees and causing much destruction. Okay, a killer whale? Like, on land? What? Huh? Me confused. Although dangerous and powerful beings, thunderbirds are also seen as benevolent nature spirits, and they sometimes assisted the tribes in their search for food during periods of famine. Igneous. Thanks, Brian. The igneous rocks known as thunderstones are the eggs of these creatures according to some legends. Oh, that's a good one. I like that. Let's see. 1977, Lawndale, Illinois Thunderbird attack. I think I've heard of this one. The 1977 Lawndale, Illinois Thunderbird attack was a reported attack by two unidentified birds on a young boy. The attack occurred on July 25th, 1977. 10-year-old Marlon Lowe, L-O-W-E, was playing outside when he was suddenly attacked by two large birds. One of one of which temporarily picked him up and carried him over 30 feet before Marlon's mother, Ruth Lowe, ran to her son's rescue, chasing the bird away and then recovering her traumatized son. I heard of something like this happening. That was a vulture, though. Reportedly, several eyewitnesses had seen the attack take place. The birds were described as having white ring around their necks, a 4.5-foot body with each wing approximately 4 feet long, a 6-inch hooked bill, 3 front claws, 1 back claw, and a large black body. Sightings of large bird-like creatures have been reported for many years, at least since people began settling further west in the United States. One of the most famous reports is from 1890, when 2 Arizona cowboys claimed to have shot and killed a large bird. It was described as having no feathers, and it had a head similar to that of an alligator. The 2 men supposedly dragged the dead bird back to town after killing it. The report seems to suggest that this creature looked more like a pterodactyl or a dragon than any modern-day bird. Today, cryptozoologists usually refer to the thunderbird legends in the same way as any other flying cryptid, such as the Kongomodo, the roc, the ropin, and even sometimes the Jersey Devil. These flying creatures are often associated with modern-day pterosaurs. Many of the encounters with the creatures, including the thunderbirds, are all described similarly. Quite often, the creatures are said to resemble pterosaurs, which were thought to be extinct for millions of years. And over here is a little image of what they call the Argentavis, which is a flying mount in Ark, Survival Evolved. I had 3 of them. Argentavis is a giant prehistoric condor. Compared to a human, this is a plausible explanation for the thunderbird, and I gotta concur with that. That is a big-ass bird. It's almost 6 feet tall, just standing around. Those things are big. Thunderbirds may be modern-day pterosaurs. However, this is unlikely since no flying bird bigger than an albatross or an Andean condor has been discovered in recent times. But then again, they could still live. Pterosaurs are suspects in thunderbird sightings, but this seems far-fetched as pterosaurs, according to science, have long been extinct since the late Cretaceous around 66 million years ago. Some exotic non-native birds like the African crowned eagles and Andean condors, did I just call it Andorian condors earlier? I think I did. Condors from the planet Andor from Star Wars. Andean condors, possibly escaping from captivity, may have helped play a role in the thunderbird sightings, with African crowned eagles said to have caused so-called thunderbird attacks, and Andean condors being mistaken for the larger mythical thunderbirds at first glance. Thunderbird sightings may just be hoaxes made by pranksters or cryptid enthusiasts mistaken identifications of real Native American birds. Yeah, they're Adjectivuses for sure. All of them. 100%. That's my opinion. But yeah, there's something weird going on with these large birds. A lot of people are seeing them. I'm going to tell you a little story. I actually saw a really huge raven standing on this like church steeple thing out by the Safeway I go to. And I could have swore it must have been 4 feet tall. It was so big. And I'm not going to call it a thunderbird. I don't know what it was, but it looked like a big-ass raven to me. But it looked really extra big that day. So there is some credence to this Thunderbird stuff. I've seen it. Alright. And for the last cryptid of the night, the Wyvern. That's W-Y-V-E-R-N. Wyvern. And we're going to do this one because these were fun animals to tame and fly around in Ark Survival Vault on the Scorched Earth map. They were so much fun. And here we go. The Wyvern, meaning serpent or worm, is a dragon-like being first originated in European folklore. The Wyvern is the typical greedy, fire-breathing dragon. This legendary creature is usually defined as a subspecies of dragon. Or at least dragon's closest kin. The dragon and the wyvern share many similarities in appearance. Description. Like the dragon, the wyvern is rendered as a winged reptilian creature. It is distinguished by its possession of only 2 legs and a single pair of wings. Occasionally, a variant such as the sea wyvern will possess fish-like tail. So, it's the classic dragon you guys have been seeing in Hollywood. You know, Ring of Fire, Dragon Slayer, not Braveheart, that's a classic dragon. The wyvern it has 2 regular hind legs, but its front limbs are its wings. So it flies on its front limbs. So let's see here. I lost my place. Alright. More frequently, however, the wyvern's tail is drawn with a barb or a spade at the tip, which is sometimes considered poisonous. The wyvern may also be illustrated as having claws of eagles. Wyverns are also smaller than dragons, the largest on record being approximately 18 feet. Behavior. Wyvern will protect their goal at all costs, even if it means he will die or kill another. Wyverns are very greedy. They will even steal gold from other wyverns. Wyverns have particularly aggressive natures with no timidness and will basically seek out and attack anything in sight that it perceives to be a threat or a tasty morsel. In fact, they have fox-like characteristics in that they often slaughter just for the sake of it and not out of necessity. Hunting tactics differ from dragons. All prey is snatched and carried off to their lair alive, then killed and devoured. They will, like dragons, spot prey from high airborne position, but will also stalk around from the ground. Also stalk and attack from the ground. They have similar magpie tendencies as dragons, attracted by shiny or unusual objects which they collect to adorn their lairs. But whereas dragons tend to hoard jewels and precious metals of which they have great knowledge, wyverns will take just about anything, which tends to be just rubbish, and so their lairs typically tips and undesirable stinking places to happen across. European legends. Maud and the Wyvern have been told in many different ways. Here's one of the versions. The one mentioned in the story on the wall of the church says the dragon was slain by a Garstone, a member of the local nobility. But more stories tell of it slain by a convicted criminal. The stories have been passed down through word of mouth and were not written down apart from on the church wall. Excuse me. Until the 1790s, when first a Samuel Ireland visited Mortiford and was told that the dragon was slain by a criminal hidden in the cedar hogsheed. In a cedar hogsheed. Or shed. Huh. I have no idea what that means. Then in 1799, George Lipscomb was writing a travel book and saw the dragon painting on the church wall, and on asking about it, he was told about the dragon that had terrorized the village, eating livestock and people, and those favorite drinking spot was the point where the rivers Lug and Wye joined. No one dared to fight the dragon until a condemned criminal offered to try if his reward would be a pardon. From there, the details vary. Some stories say that he hid in a cedar barrel close to the dragon's drinking place and shot him through the bunghole of the barrel, or fought the wyvern and won, but then died himself when the dragon breathed fire at the barrel with his dying breath. Others tell that he covered the barrel with hooks and knives, and when the wyvern went to crush it with the main man inside, it died from the wounds caused by the spikes. Unfortunately, the man was caught in the poisonous fumes of the dying creature and died beside it. Poisonous fumes. Guess that means it's gassy. And that will do it for this episode. Let me know what you guys think of it. Any ideas, tips, or tricks? I am still working on trying to get that AM radio effect working. Right now, I still gotta mess with the settings on it. I don't like the way it is right now. But I'm gonna apply it to the voice and the music and give it a real good feel, like you're actually hearing it from an old AM radio station in the car. So maybe I'll have that ready by next episode. But until then, I want you all to remember to drive safe out there. Good night.